It started a couple of years ago as an effort to create a sort of plucky, DIY, decentralized intentional community with myself, my boyfriend, and 3 other families. We didn't live together on the same property, but we all did live within an easily bikeable 2 miles of each other. Now it's evolved into my boyfriend and one of those families living in homes right next to each other, where we're establishing our own mini-eco-village right here in urban Florida. And while this initiative is still in the very early stages, there's enough going on already that it feels like the time has come to make a video about it and start telling this story. More and more people dream of living in an eco-village or some kind of co-housing situation, or just feeling more connected and less isolated. We often get hung up on this idea, though, that we have to move to some kind of already existing intentional community. And while it's a good option, it can often feel like an unrealistic pipe dream or something to be experienced in a distant future. So I hope that our story shows you that there's a lot more you too can be doing to create community and more intentional relationships where you live right now. And even if you do end up moving into an eco-village or co-housing setup sometime, this extra experience in intentional living will serve you well. Now I know buying land or a house can be a major roadblock in people's efforts to make this kind of vision a reality. And while I don't have any ideas to help you buy your dream house in a high cost of living area, I have collected a lot of out-of-the-box resources and ideas to help you pursue less traditional paths to home ownership, a number of which could support your efforts to buy property with others to co-create some kind of more intentional living situation. I call it my Creative Paths to Home Ownership and Housing Toolkit, which I've made available for free and included a link for in the description below. So now, back to our story. Our 4 households spent the past 2 years deepening our relations and connections through shared potlucks, camping, as well as work and learning projects focused on sustainable living. I went into more details about the inner workings of our DIY decentralized intentional community in the second half of this video if you want to watch that later. While we had stopped getting together regularly as a whole group, we still participate in group chats and regularly connect in smaller groups. Then, in the spring of this year, the house next to Albert's came up for sale. Well, one of the families in our group is Rachel and Carrie of Little Tree Homestead. After Rachel's mom, who also lives in the area, lost her home to Hurricane Helene, this family that had already been very close with their mother/mother-in-law started thinking about buying a house altogether. And with Rachel and Carrie having 2 kids who adore their grandmother, they could all see lots of benefits to moving in together. So when this house next door to Albert came up for sale, he let them know about it because it's got a pretty good setup for what they need. The mom had had a pool and really wanted to have that because she liked to entertain. So this house has a pool. And there's also a really good master bedroom suite with its own bath at the back of the house that the mom could have for herself. And they looked at it and decided to buy it. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to be touring the properties and showing you some of the highlights of what's unfolding here now. One of the things I want to show you is the shared chicken coop. And some of the interesting things they're doing a little differently in terms of feeding the chickens. One is incorporating this chaya plant. Here is the entrance to the coop from Albert's side. So there you go, you can see the chickens enjoying the chaya right away. They really like it. So they're eating that. This is a shot of the kind of portion where they protected area. It's covered on top with this hardware cloth. And this door over here that I'm pointing to, that's the door that Rachel and Carrie and their family can get into and out of the coop from this. So this is a shared chicken coop. This is the water bucket that feeds them. I can't get a good shot. Let's see, there is, yeah, they can drink off of that. They're also mixing moringa into the feed. And another thing they've been doing is we do a lot of dumpster diving. Oh yeah, there's some of the moringa.
Look in here, that's how much I put.
Okay, you can see
the
moringa.
I put a half cup per chicken.
Okay.
Per day.
Very good.
Not per chicken, per the flock.
Okay, half cup for all of them. And then another thing, we do a lot of dumpster diving. We get bags of the lettuce leaves from a restaurant, a cafe, and other produce that we divert from the waste stream and feed that to the chickens as well. So there's Albert with one of the chickens saying hello. They're still a little on the young side. They're not laying yet. They bought these as, freshly hatched chickens, little chickens, and so we're still in the growing stage, and I think they're expecting early winter to have them start laying. Albert is also a beekeeper, so we've got the hives back here, and Carrie from next door has started helping him with some of the harvesting. Beekeeping is a big part of this as well. There's one more window kind of into the chicken coop, and it's actually through this shared plant nursery. So this is a nursery that Albert established and had been using on his own for his own backyard plant nursery, and is now sharing with Rachel and Carrie. So they sell plants as well, and this has become a space of shared use. And this is that back window kind of to the chicken coop. It's not an entrance, but it does just give them more air circulation and another way to view them without having to go all the way to the back of the property. Albert and our friends Rachel and Carrie from Little Tree Homestead had been operating separate plant nurseries with different types of plants. Now that they've moved together into properties next to each other, they've combined forces. This is another part of the nursery area right between their homes, and it's closer to the street, so it's easily accessible. Rachel and Carrie and Little Tree Homestead do a lot of events, vending at events, and they have people order online and come to pick up, or they go deliver. And so it's very quick and easy to maintain and access, and it's close to both of them, so it works really, really well. So this is one of several vermicomposting bathtubs that Albert has set up. So this is for composting earthworms, for those of you that aren't familiar with it. So you feed the worms, and then you gather their poop, because it's very nitrogen rich and good for plants. And so this is a system Albert devised that works really well here in Florida. I'm not sure how well it would work in other parts of other climates, but our friend Elise Pickett, who is also a member of our decentralized intentional community and the force behind the urban harvest, has made a video about it, which I'll link to. You can check it out here on YouTube. It's actually her most popular video, or one of them, I think. So it's a really great system. I'm not going to lift it up right now to show you what's underneath, but it's basically bedding, sifted mulch, food scraps, largely produce scraps, and then the worm castings on top. So Rachel and Carrie have started using these castings on the annuals that they grow in their garden. Mostly what gets fed to these worms are food scraps that we rescue from the waste stream, things we rescue from grocery store dumpsters. Also, Albert goes to a food bank once a week. It's a food bank that only distributes food once a month, so some of the produce is likely to go off more quickly, so they are very grateful, the volunteers there, to have Albert come every week and pick up the produce scraps, which get fed to the worms, to our other compost piles, and to ourselves, because a lot of times it ends up some of that food is still quite good, which is very sad. Not only does this vermicomposting provide a very nutrient-rich fertilizer for the plants on these properties, as well as become part of the solution, absorbing some of the waste we supposedly have in our system, but it also is part of the income generation streams that they've developed here, because Albert can sell the worm castings, the extra worm castings, also teaching classes. They're hosting classes here on site. Albert just did a beekeeping class, and he teaches a vermicomposting class every month when he feeds the worms. He invites people in to be part of it and learn the process. This is going on into Albert's backyard. So Albert has lived here 13 years and has established quite the food forest in his yard. It's been dry here, so it's not quite as lush and productive and lovely as it could be, but it's still impressive nonetheless. We've got mango trees, avocado trees, an olive tree, Let's see, longan trees, bananas, all kinds of things. More of the shared plant nursery, some more growing and production in here where plants are being, seedlings maintained, more being planted. So there's planting to sell and of course planting to eat here and share together between the households and with friends as well. Behind me, you can see the annual beds here in Rachel and Carrie's front yard. They only bought this house back in the middle of May, and I'm recording this in late October. We're in Florida, so our annual growing season, starts in earnest, and sometime in September you start planting. So you can see things are still on the early side, but they're already flourishing, and they've got kids, so they've got the Halloween decorations out in here as well. So I look forward to making future videos and showing you how this progresses, because you can see they've got the trellises all the way down and they're going to be growing things up there. So it's just a really nice walkway up to the front of, the front door of the house. And so this again is where the annual production largely is going on site for the households, and Albert's is the perennial food forest. Another great thing about the location of all of this is, especially for Rachel and Carrie, there is this park right across the street from their houses. And there is a sidewalk that goes all the way around, and this is where people come to walk their dogs or use the exercise equipment, although they're installing new equipment right now. So it is a beehive of activity. There are also Little League fields to the other side. And even on, I think it's one night a week, there are parents that gather here with young kids. So it's so wonderful to have all of this activity and interaction, and people are walking by and appreciating the gardens and starting conversations. So it really does create that kind of community mini-eco-village effect. So where do I fit in all of this? Because I don't live on site. Well, I live about a mile away, and I ride my bike over here every day pretty much, because I come down for lunch and spend time with Albert in the afternoon, and then in the evenings for dinner as well. And so there's a lot of back and forth, and I am involved in a good bit of the brainstorming and offering input for decision making around what's going on here, and of course just interacting. Now again, this just started in May, so we don't have, regular dinners where we get together every week, but there's a constant flow of people on each other's properties. The well that we're using right now is on Albert's property, so Rachel and Carrie and the people they work with are coming on site here in this yard to use the water and water the plants in the nursery and take the hose out to the front yard. And so, and there's just a lot of back and forth with the conversation and the work, and so a lot of spontaneous interactions pop up. Albert's grandkids don't live here in the area, and he loves kids, so having the kids next door now for him is just fantastic. And so he'll offer to babysit sometimes. The kids will just spontaneously come over to say hi or play with him. So it's really been wonderful for both sides that way, to have that interaction that Albert misses so much with kids. And another thing I want to mention is that Rachel and her mother are both nurses. And that is such a good thing to have next door as well. Not only just because of the work they do, but what they can do in the future potentially for Albert. They've already had discussions. A big part of what Albert and I both want is to age in place. And so having nurses next door, is a really good support to add to that arsenal that you want to put together to try and age in place. One other thing I wanted to emphasize here is just the sharing of resources that's going on between these two households, especially when it comes to food, because we all do a lot of foraging and dumpster diving, and Rachel and Carrie have family members that fish a lot. So every time there's just excess or abundance, we are bringing it to each other's households. We just this morning took a jackfruit that I foraged from a property that's for sale, and no one's paying attention to, over to Rachel and Carrie. They gave us avocados a few weeks ago from a tree they know of. And, we're continually getting dumpster scores that both of us, all of us do some dumpster diving and sharing back and forth what's extra with each other. So again, it's just a wonderful way to increase the energy in that cycle of reciprocity. I also want to mention that Albert's quite well known in our community because he teaches a very popular beach yoga class. Between that and the fact that he sells his honey, and we have the location across from the park here, there are a lot of impromptu visitors that come on site, or visits that are planned just a few days in advance. And it adds so much fun and richness to our lives, like the other day when our friends from Beach Kombucha came by for a pollen and honey tasting. Obviously, this is new for everyone, and they're still feeling things out and getting used to all of the interactions and just the quirks of everyone's personalities and ways of moving through life. So I'm not saying everything's perfect and rosy, but both sides feel that life is incrementally better in this situation than it was before. And the kids just love living here, especially with that park across the street, Albert over here, their grandmother, so close to them. So, again, it's not perfect and it's unfolding, and I will continue to make videos about it to let you know how it goes. And there's still refining to be done, but it has vastly improved their lives. Now, I realize this is a model that's not accessible to probably most people, but it is a different model, and I just wanted to showcase it to encourage you to, again, think outside of the box about what is possible and what you can put in place. This didn't happen overnight. Nothing like this usually does. We have to plan, we have to design, and we have to open our minds to different ideas. So I'm just giving you one new seed to plant in your mind so that you continue collecting those and can weave them into an option that's going to work for you.